Thank you very much. Mr. Hickenlooper, I do want to talk about this issue because it's something that's been in the news. Both you and Joe Biden have avoided answering whether you would support expanding the size of the Supreme Court or other measures that could be seen as either retaliation or reform based on what Republicans have done with the Supreme Court. So let's try this in a different format. Let's try these as yes, no, or I don't want to say. Do you support expanding or packing the Supreme Court if Republicans confirm Amy Coney Barrett? Yes, no, or I don't want to say.
It's a hypothetical. I would support it. Let's put it this way. I don't like the idea of court packing. We're seeing it right now, right? We're seeing court packing in full fury, and it doesn't make any sense to me. I think if you get new people to Washington, you won't have to do that kind of institutional change. And that's
All
what
right,
I've been
we're going to
saying.
go on to the next yes, no, or I don't want to say question. Do you support term limits for Supreme Court justices?
Again, there are so many variables. No, I mean, I don't support term limits at this point, but who can say in the future, right?
Another idea has been rotating lower court judges onto the Supreme Court for fresh blood. Yes, no, or I don't want to say.
I've never heard that, so I haven't thought about it.
That's fair enough. Do you support expanding the size of lower courts to reshape the judiciary?
Again, I haven't seen the pros and cons. I have not
Fair enough.
delved into that.
Another thing that's been talked about, the Democrats could do in retaliation for what the Republicans are doing with the Supreme Court, is creating statehood for the District of Columbia and Puerto Rico. Yes, no, don't want to weigh in?
You know, I think those are different issues that have been discussed long before we got into this court
But it's
packing
being
issue.
discussed in the context of a retaliatory action because of the
Well,
court.
just for the record, long before we saw this kind of court packing, I have said that I think Washington, D.C. should be a state. So I'm on the record of that, but it has nothing to do with court packing.
Understood. And Puerto Rico?
Puerto Rico, I don't think I'm on the record, but I could be persuaded. I mean, again, this is it's no different or it's similar in many ways to Hawaii when we brought Hawaii into as part of the United States.
Okay, thank you very much. Mr. Gardner, on the court, President Trump's Supreme Court nominee, Amy Coney Barrett, she's personally opposed to abortion, and she said today that Roe versus Wade is not a super precedent. It's not safe from being reversed. Last week, there were a couple of conservative justices on the court that suggested that gay marriage should also be overturned. Are you comfortable with overturning a woman's right to an abortion and gay Americans' right to marry?
Both cases are settled law. I think we've heard that discussion quite at depth today, actually, about settled law and the precedent, and that precedent should be respected. But I also want to make sure that we understand here what court packing means. It is a Orwellian spin in newspeak to say that court packing is what is taking place today. Court packing for 100 years, 150 plus years in this country's history has been identified as adding judges to the lower courts or to the U.S. Supreme Court until you get enough judges on the court to rule your way. Now, John knows exactly what court packing means. He's trying to hide tonight behind the lawful filling of nominations and approval by the United States Senate. So the question is to Governor Hickenlooper, do you support adding justices to the Supreme Court more than 9, 10, or 11? That's the question he should answer, because that's the definition of court packing. Ruth Bader Ginsburg opposed it.
So just as a quick follow-up then, on the principle that you just outlined, one consequence of court packing or expanding the court is that Democrats do it, then Republicans do it again, then Democrats do it again. You just get this larger and larger and larger court, which could water down the judiciary. I assume, based on what you're saying, that if you were reelected and continue to serve in the Senate, that if Democrats expand the court or pack the court, that you would adamantly oppose Republicans doing it in return.
Absolutely.
Years later.
Look, the nine has worked for over 150 years.
Thank you very much.
We don't need more. It's worked for 150 years. It's too bad that Governor Hickenlooper can't admit that.
Well,